Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. There's been a relative, I don't know if you've been seeing it, a relative amount of chaos within the cryptocurrency market as of late. And I mean from all corners. Either from prices, from discussions happening, there are a lot of people in this space, I think, who have actually lost their mind. And I mean that's not even a joke. I'm not sure if you've been looking at the other side of the news in the last 2 weeks, but it's getting a little bit ridiculous. We continue to receive the same kind of news that we have been for quite a while now. The institutions who've been getting into the space, the money that's been flowing into the space, people who are buying over the counter, people who are buying behind the scenes. The interesting part is that now, because of the Bitcoin ETFs and them being registered with the US SEC, the information that happens there essentially becomes public knowledge. So this will sound familiar, but it's not, because we've had the same thing 5 other times in the last couple of days. In a recent 13F filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission, UBS Group AG, the Switzerland-based global investment bank and financial services firm, disclosed a substantial holding in the iShares Bitcoin Trust IBIT, an exchange-traded fund managed by BlackRock. We've heard from UBS. We've heard of JP Morgan, the largest federal bank in Germany. There was another bank in Germany, and I can't remember what their name was. I was trying to Google it to also have it on the screen. I couldn't remember what their mix of letters are, whatever it was. And there were also 2 other large banks who also, remember, this was maybe about a week ago, where I was showing you on the screen that someone was digging through all the filings and they found the names of these companies, and it looked like a whole bunch of mishmash of letters, and they had the name of the companies kind of highlighted. There have been multiple companies who we've been finding out, especially large banks who are also in the Bitcoin space and have been buying the ETFs. I don't know why I always confuse those. Maybe it's because there's 3 letters. The really weird part is that a lot of these companies who we're finding out have Bitcoin ETFs, it's always a really weird small amount of money. So we heard a week ago, I forgot which other bank it was. There have been 10 at this point. One of them, I think, and I air quote here, only had about $14,000 worth of Bitcoin. Another one, I think, had 66,000. It's all these really weird, you would assume that they would have more Bitcoin, or just in general as they have more funds, but these are usually the numbers that we're kind of getting. The filing, which covers the first quarter of 2024, revealed that UBS Group AG, through its various subsidiaries and institutional investment managers, holds 3,600 shares in IBIT. The investment highlights a growing interest of the yada yada in the crypto space. Data from Fintel shows that the holdings are valued at, they were valued at 140, it's also a weird number. $145,000, and the current value is $124,000 as the market continues to fluctuate and move all over. So the significance of the news is that for some reason, all these banks are moving into the space. The other part is that a lot of them aren't buying a lot. There was one other one. I don't remember the name. There was another one a couple days ago as well. People were looking through the filings. It was Susquehanna. I think SUSQUE HANA. And I think they have $1.6 billion worth of Bitcoin. But then the JP Morgan and UBS group filings are $100,000 something dollars, which is, it's odd because normally for any investment that these banks are getting into, usually it's millions of dollars. So It could just be so. I honestly have no idea exactly what it could be, but yeah, of course, this made relatively major news. We keep hearing of these institutions getting into the space, and it's like, okay, cool. We already knew that they were there. It's just more of a confusing number time. Because we all know, or rather you should know, that they all hold physical Bitcoin. They're actually holding Bitcoin and have been for years. But there's also tons of news about them getting into the ETFs, and the ETF numbers are also quite low. Yeah, that's the UBS group is holding some of BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF. Let's move on. Also in, I guess, popular news, something really odd is happening. I mean, it happens every single day, but it's getting like, okay, it's a bit too obvious at this point. At the recent Crypto and Digital Asset Summit in London, Lightning Labs CEO Elizabeth Stark, announced that they are preparing to offer stable coins on the Bitcoin network. Without having to give you too much history, we're currently in like a really weird fork in the road kind of thing for Bitcoin. There's so many new developments that people are trying to implement on Bitcoin, and I think that's also a fork in the road per se, because I think people who are in Bitcoin are trying to do one of two things, and it's either make Bitcoin attractive to everyday people, to institutions, and the other side of the coin is to just simply keep Bitcoin as it is and make Bitcoin strong the way that it's currently built. Since the beginning of, no, even the middle of last year, we have Bitcoin NFTs. We have Bitcoin runes, which allow people to make their own coins on top of Bitcoin. Similar to, you know, how there's like 1,000 something coins on top of Ethereum. They're trying to do the same exact thing for Bitcoin. And then the idea of a stable coin on top of Bitcoin is also, it's just a cash grab. No matter how many times these people keep coming forward talking about that this is for prosperity or everyone so-and-so. No, it's over the years, especially from Lightning, it looks like they're trying to find alternative ways to be able to make money. This isn't being mean. It's just it's just how it is when it comes to a business. It's similar to Coinbase making their own chain and moving their own money onto the chain to say that they have more going on with the chain. Is this kind of when everyone realizes that you can create your own digital version of the US dollar or any kind of a currency, it becomes very big business. Even if you've been seeing, I don't know what's going on right now. Like, I honestly don't know if it's something in the Kool-Aid. I don't know what's going on right now. A couple of days ago, Brad Garlinghouse had an interview somewhere, and he said it was apparent to him that the SEC was basically going after everything within the space. And they were asking him, the host was asking Garlinghouse, so they think that the SEC is going after Tether. And he's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure they're going after Tether. They're going after everything within the space. And then the CEO of Tether completely, I don't want to use the term lost it, but he got so angry and said that Garlinghouse was throwing FUD and doing all these other things. And it's like, no, it just seems if they're going after every single, if they've gone after coins that have had a $100 million market cap, Tether is the king of crypto. We've seen so many people trying to bring down Tether over the years. We even had that in another recent video where I went over the companies and corporations, the JP Morgans, the Wall Street Journals, Visa recently. What was the other one? Who've all been trying to say negative things about Tether. Brad Garlinghouse saying that, yeah, he thinks that the SEC is going after Tether is not him attacking Tether. It's literally just saying the truth. If you've been in the news for the last month, you understand exactly what the SEC is doing. They're trying to get control over everything. But that also caused a really weird rift in the space where people were mad at Garlinghouse or were siding with the Tether guy. And it's like, Are you all delusional? I don't know what's happening. There's so much weird news popping up right now, and a lot of it is surrounding stable coins. Basically, what's happening is Tether has become gargantuan and continues to grow, and they're really they're basically the only stable coin that we really need right now. Part of the problem is that everyone else is also creating their own stable coins, trying to become popular as the bull market begins, which is also an issue right now because Coinbase keeps crashing all the time. So when you realize that a company is making a huge amount of money doing something that you could have done before, this is why we're hearing of all these countries and all these companies, and I mean in the same 5-week period, all making their own stable coins. And then you have the news, for those of you who missed it, that Ripple is also preparing to make their own stablecoin on the XRP ledger. And that also receives scrutiny from the SEC. So I just assume by sheer logic, if Ripple announced they were going to be creating a stablecoin on the XRP ledger, and the SEC also, it was rumored that they're already having discussions about how Ripple can't make a stablecoin, or who knows exactly what's going on, then of course they'd probably be going after Tether. Is anyone still with me? Do you remember why Binance is no longer in the US and multiple other places? It's because the countries had a problem with not only Binance, but also Binance's stablecoin. Remember, they had to end support for their own stablecoin because of regulatory problems. So where that leads us now is that a number of countries have kind of abandoned the letters CBDC, and they're only going after the words stablecoin right now. So everyone's trying to make a stablecoin or multiple stablecoins. We've had a lot of stablecoin news about the euro, the yen, the peso, all these things beginning to pop up. A number of governments are talking, and their central banks are saying that they're like starting their stablecoin projects and stuff like that. And the idea for it on Bitcoin is basically to take away market cap from other stablecoins. No matter how many times this gets presented as something like, oh yeah, we're expanding the market, they're trying to take market away from other people who are already in the market. And especially the idea of Lightning is meant to essentially just be a payment method for Bitcoin to have quicker and cheaper transactions. Adding a stable coin into the mix is just pure greed. But when you talk about, for those of you who missed it, Visa had a study that was done, and we found out that in April alone, there were $2.2 trillion that moved through stablecoins. Trillion. You understand how much $1 billion is? You understand how long it would take you to spend $100 billion? Now up that to $2.2 trillion just in April. So of course everyone is beginning to announce these initiatives. It says, benefiting from Bitcoin's Taproot upgrade, Lightning Labs is taking a significant steps towards enabling stablecoins and tokenized assets to operate on the Bitcoin network, extending Bitcoin's utility beyond just being a store of value. That's part of the fork. It's the fork in the road where a lot of people aren't satisfied. It's kind of, so finishing the thought, people aren't satisfied with just Bitcoin being Bitcoin. It has to be something more. It has to be something extra. That's a lot of the reason why a lot of coins, and you saw a couple of years ago, a lot of staking coins became very popular because they give you passive income. And then a lot of crypto exchanges began to announce that they were also going to allow you to stake your Bitcoin. It's not really staking it. You give it to them and they use it basically as a bank loan, which is also terrible because it puts us into the old system that we're currently trying to get away from. But with Bitcoin, where these de facto banks, cryptocurrency exchanges, are taking and holding your money and using it to trade, and then they give you a little, a couple of pennies back as a thank you for what you have given them. For those of you who don't know, that's how bank accounts work. When they give you like money at the end of the year, like, your return, it's because they're using your money to trade with it. They make trillions and trillions of dollars, and then they give you a couple of pennies back to say thank you. Which is, so we're sliding into this world where Bitcoin is going mainstream, but maybe I'm a bit of the word's not purist. Maybe it's because I've been here for so long. I'm used to things just kind of being simple and not needing to muddy the waters, as it were. Remember when I was telling you and I was warning you all before about DeFi and stuff like that, and the idea of DeFi, and you lend out your coins and you do this and you get money back in this, and I was like, a lot of these things are going to be scams because it's stuff that we don't need in the cryptocurrency space. Voila. Crazy, right? How I was correct about all the scams that are floating. I'm seeing a lot of DeFi news beginning to pop back up because they know that it's going to be very easy to get people back into the DeFi space with the idea. Some of them have like, you can make like 99% of your money in 1 year. And it's like, yeah, that's how scams work. You keep getting people to pump money into it and it ends up being a pyramid scheme. Anyway, back to the idea of stable coins on Bitcoin. This is kind of a, what's the word? It's not a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's people are trying to fulfill the prophecy that they themselves said, where, yeah, that's actually quite accurate. A number of years ago, the idea was, and this is something you still hear from Jack Dorsey and Novogratz and Cathie Wood and blah, 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 is that Bitcoin at some point is going to take over every other asset, but they're going about it in a different way. The idea of Bitcoin taking over every other asset, for those, that's the idea of like a hyper maximalist, is that Bitcoin would continue to rise in value. People would see that their other assets aren't doing as well compared to Bitcoin. They begin to sell off their other assets, push that money into Bitcoin. Bitcoin's price goes up. Rinse and repeat. Every other asset on the planet loses tons of value. You have 1 million Satoshis, you're basically wealthy. That's kind of the idea. But they're going about it now in a different way, where instead of saying Bitcoin would simply absorb Ethereum's value, now they say Ethereum has NFTs, we have NFTs. The idea of tons of coins being built on top of other chains, you don't have to do that anymore. You can do it on top of Bitcoin. Ethereum and other chains housing all the most popular stable coins that we have out there. Well, guess what? You don't have to use those chains anymore. You can now use Bitcoin. This is basically what they're trying to do. I'm not knocking it, but it's not necessary. We can totally live on a planet where there are multiple coins and multiple chains. Everything doesn't have to flow through Bitcoin. And we also don't need systems like the Lightning Network, which isn't hyper decentralized, to house all these things on top of it as well. But once again, maybe it's because I've been in the market for so long. Stark highlighted the progress Lightning Labs has made towards this goal, noting that tests involving transactions with assets on the Lightning Network have been successful. Stark argued that by integrating stablecoins into the Bitcoin network, users could benefit from the network security and decentralization. Yeah, but if you do it on Lightning, Lightning isn't as decentralized as Bitcoin, so that's also a bit of a lie. They're not benefiting from Bitcoin's decentralization or network security because it's happening on Lightning. Anyway, cool, awesome, fun, I guess. There's a lot of stablecoin news as of late. It's just kind of the thing that's floating around, and there's no way to stop it. If these people, you don't understand what it means for 2 or 3 companies to have had $2.2 trillion moving through them. We're probably going to have so many different stablecoins by December, but very similar to the stablecoin rush of 2020 and 2021. These things are also going to fall apart. So at some point, we're probably going to have a maximum of 5 floating around, but that's just the way that things currently are. That's the Bitcoin Lightning Network stablecoin. We don't need it news. Yeah. Let's move on. Also in SEC news, so we're in a bit of a bind. We're in a bit of a tussle. It's actually more than a tussle. It's like the US SEC is they're frothing at the mouth. Like I don't know what's going on, and I'll say it again. No one's regulating the regulators, and these people have completely gone bananas. The issue is that the SEC is trying to go after everything. Their original intent, for those of you who weren't here in 2017 and 2018, XRP used to be the number 2 coin for a bit, and it became the number 3 coin. There have been rumors for a while that Ethereum received some kind of special treatment because of monies. No one knows if this information is true. We had Charles Hoskinson a couple of months ago basically confirming that some closed door meetings had taken place and maybe some money was passed around, but also no one knows. We were not there. Then the XRP lawsuit happened and multiple other coins. We heard the SEC announce that basically they believe that every coin is a security, which doesn't make a lot of sense. The issue is that a majority of the market, a majority of the coins exist on top of Ethereum and Polygon, which is also on top of Ethereum. The SEC is, for all intents and purposes, as far as we know, from what we've heard, they're trying to defend the strength of the US dollar, which continues to buckle under the weight of Bitcoin. There's such an obscene amount of corruption and scamming that's happening from regulators around the world right now that like everyone should actually be quite alarmed. But I know that only 1% will actually be, and everyone else will continue to act as if none of this is taking place. The issue is that the SEC is currently, apparently, allegedly trying to classify Ethereum as a security. And this is going lightly unnoticed by a number of people within the space because of ignorance. A lot of people, the same exact way I had to explain before years ago. When the SEC filed a lawsuit against Ripple, and everyone, I remember, because people are ridiculous, people were writing on Twitter and on Reddit and online and making videos on YouTube how they knew it the whole time. XRP was a security, XRP is a scam, XRP is a so-and-so. And then I had to make a video and I was like, you idiots, you understand they're going at the top of the pyramid, because if that falls, then every other coin falls as well. If they announce that the level of decentralization of this coin for XRP is a security, then all of your other coins are securities as well. And I remember the hate stopped immediately because everyone always loves to point at other people and make fun of them as opposed to literally pointing at themselves or even trying to be like, hey, let's work together. That was also the issue when we heard silence from all these major institutions within the space until 2022, when the SEC began to go after Gemini and began to go after Coinbase. Do you remember what happened on Twitter? Remember when Coinbase was like, we're standing behind Ripple and XRP now. And I was like, oh, you weren't doing that before. And you also didn't list them in 2017 when it was the most demanded coin to be listed on your platform. And what did you do instead? You listed 30 ERC20 tokens. It's difficult to lie within this space because everyone talks so loud and so heavy. This is why I always say, if you ever hear me say something weird, doesn't sound right, is TMI okay today? Google it. Look it up for yourself. You can see all the stuff that I'm talking. It's constant. It's over and over and over and over and over. With the looming issue of the US SEC potentially denying multiple Ethereum ETFs. Apparently 2 more have been kicked down the road to, I think, June or July. And the potential of all of them being rejected. One of the companies just also withdrew their filing for an Ethereum ETF. And the potential that the SEC could actually come out to announce that Ethereum is indeed a security to them is a gigantic problem. The classification of Ethereum as a security poses not only risks to the entire crypto market, but it could also likely lead to many crypto teams exiting the space. I don't know what the goal of all of this is. The answer is money, but in between, what's the story? The only thing I can think of that constantly comes to mind is the reason why Gary Gensler and the SEC are going unchecked is because they actually are checked. That someone has told them to, or, decided that it's now time to get crypto under control. And I mean like literally kicking it out of the borders to maintain, once again, the strength of the US dollar. when you understand how bad the US dollar is actually doing, when you see that the inflation rate that they tell you is not the real inflation rate, when you see the cracks on the wall and not being able to lower interest rates is a gigantic red flag. When you see the amount of people around the world who are using these systems, when you talk about $2.2 trillion that could have or would have $2.2 trillion that would have otherwise moved through the US dollar and it didn't. When you talk about the world's most used blockchain being Ethereum, when you see people in countries who are undergoing high levels of inflation choosing to buy Bitcoin instead of US dollars like they used to do in the 90s and the 80s and the 70s and the 60s and the 50s, look it up. This is what I think is happening right now. We're literally witnessing like the battle. It's digital, but it's still in front of us at all times. I did for a while think it was very weird, as I've said in other videos, that every other country kind of got it together really fast. There was no big discussion as to, is Bitcoin a security for, and you know, to make a long story short, for those of you who don't know, every other country, except for I think 3 or 4, who also have horrendous economies and such high levels of corruption, you would, I mean like a 900-page book level of corruption that's been happening over the last couple hundred or so years. It makes sense that corrupt countries would, of course, ban and exclude something that would allow people to move money around by themselves and all these other things. But I didn't get it for a while why the US was doing it. And I was like, dummy, of course, it's to protect the US dollar. If, and it did, the US dollar lost, it has 99% of its value to Bitcoin. Of course, someone behind the scenes is making sure that they completely like knock apart the market as best they can. Don't you think it's weird that the SEC has so much to do? Think of outside of the cryptocurrency space. Imagine crypto does not exist. Poof, it's gone. You know all the other financial issues and problems and crimes that are going on within the normal financial world? And I'll even hone it in for you. Within New York, within Miami, within LA. You know how many new pyramid schemes and multi-level marketing things there have to be that are popping up every single month? People offering things that are actual securities. Doesn't it seem odd that the SEC is just going after crypto when all these other things and all these other problems that are being done with the US dollar aren't being stopped? Did you see the news a couple of days ago, for those of you who missed it, from Gary Gensler? You know why Gary Gensler said that he's going after the cryptocurrency space? You can find, it was maybe 2 weeks ago. You know why he said? Gary Gensler said he's going after crypto because of us. That's not a joke. He literally said, it's because of all of you. It's because of what you're doing in the space. I saw something recently that Coinbase also just recontacted the SEC about like, hey, what's up? Can you guys give us some sort of regulation? And the response that they got back from the former head of the SEC, he said, you guys have, well, I'm paraphrasing, but it was something along the lines of, you guys have over 90 years worth of securities laws. You're doing these crimes on purpose. So the only thing I can think of, the only thing I've put together in my mind is that this is all being done on purpose to try and, is dissuade a word? To not persuade people in America to actually enter the cryptocurrency market. And the two-sided issue is that it's working, but it's not working. Because all that's happening is not only a brain drain, but a money drain. When you tell people in any country you can't make money here, they're going to go somewhere else. The issue is is that we don't live in the 1800s anymore. So it's not about, oh, how do I get a boat to go to this other place and maybe get a choo-choo train so I can make some monies? No. If you tell people within the United States, you can't have this, you can't do that, you can't have access to this, this is so-and-so. Oh, for those of you who also don't know, the SEC wants complete control of Ethereum transactions within the United States. What happens? You pack up and you move to Portugal. You move to Germany. You move to Dubai. You move to Singapore. You move to Hong Kong. This designation might hinder progress and potentially reverse years of advancements in the crypto market. The US SEC has likely delayed its decision on Ethereum status to keep the crypto asset in a gray area. According to Amina Bank, designating Ethereum as a security would pose significant risks to the entire cryptocurrency and DeFi ecosystem. Such a designation could result in DeFi platforms that allow users to leverage the cryptocurrency asset being deemed unregistered security brokers. Furthermore, cryptocurrency exchanges intending to list Ether would be required to register with the US SEC. I don't want to say quite popular news, but it's been out there. Joseph Lubin, who's one of the co-founders of Ethereum, also chimed in. And I'll say it this way, I'm far more, at this point, I don't know Joseph Lubin, I've never met him, but I am far more inclined to believe him if he told me that the sky was actually pink as opposed to anything that the SEC has said or done. This level of outright corruption has been insane. Going over this news and seeing this news every single day, what the SEC has been doing, I can't understand how these people are called regulators. So Joseph Lubin basically said that it looks like the SEC, and of course they are, of course it makes so much sense. Of course, they're trying to make sure that they keep the old system intact. I think always, myself, I exist in such a rose-colored glasses world. If you don't know what that means, it's a very old saying where if you put on pink-colored glasses, the world looks cheery and bright. No matter what's happening, it's just colors and lights everywhere. And I always exist this way. I assume that these currencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc., enter the market. It's a brand new way for people to have, economic freedom in their life. As far as moving money, sending money to their families, low-cost transactions, open 24 hours a day. It's easier to get in than the stock market. It's been making people a lot of money. That, in my mind, that's always like, that's a good thing. That's awesome. That's amazing. But of course, the other side of it is, or even, no, on the same side, it's like this old system that has lied to us, that has stolen from us, that has frozen bank accounts, that has drained people's bank accounts, that has made sure that it continues to maintain itself off of lies and debt. The light at the end of the tunnel with my rose-colored glasses goes, well, this is great. Look at what we have. We have the system in place to be able to bring us into the future. The only reason why we still have the technology that we have right now is because of, I think, about 10 to 15 different companies. If you get a chance after this, watch a documentary or a movie or a video or something of, I think it was AT&T. And a company called Nynex, Nynex, in the 1980s. These companies within the United States, and it drags into now, had one of the largest monopolies on like phone cables and wires in the United States and in many other places around the world. So if you remember rotary phones and things like that, you actually had to get those phones from those companies. You had no other option when you were buying these phones. The issue is that at some point someone discovered and was like, hey, we can make the internet worldwide right now. There were 2 companies in the United States who tried to push back for 10 years and were even putting in news articles in newspapers and on the news trying to tell people that the internet was terrible. You don't need the internet. You can write a normal mail. You want to contact someone? Pick up a phone. Who needs this new thing? A lot of what we have now, or this is me. If you realize how slow progress has been going in general in life, and also with technology, it's because the people in power are trying to maintain in power. This is why you may have seen, if you haven't, I'm going to tell you, a lot of is mainly Android and Apple. The monopoly that they have on the phone market, a number of countries keep trying to break it up. Because you know how you stop innovation very fast and make sure that people have to buy from you? You get enough money and you buy up other companies. You know how you'll hear sometimes in a movie oh man, this company's going to buy us for 50 million and they're celebrating and they're clinking glasses. That's part of the truth. What happens is that people keep inventing new innovations and they make these new things and really things that will propel us into the future every single day. But these companies, they do research and they find out who's doing these things and they buy them out. You guys spent $3 million on making this. What if we gave you $100 million? And people usually think that these companies are going to merge, but the company takes over the other one completely, and sometimes they'll destroy their research. So then you have to continuously get your phone from me. Don't you think it's odd that over the last, almost 20 years now, that iPhones only have an extra 2 cameras and have gotten more bright and colorful, but nothing has really changed with them? Anywho, the coins that we have right now in the cryptocurrency market, and this was more of a thing from years ago, I was telling all of you, we have the technology right now, even from a blockchain standard, to literally push us about 100 years into the future. But you can't do that without stepping on a bunch of old toes. It's weird to see all of that. You might not know or even realize how historical this time is right now. We have a situation where we don't need the old system. You don't need a bank account, and I say that lightly, because you could use a crypto exchange. You could simply put all your money into Tether or another stablecoin and actually get proper returns. We can send money around the world as easily as we can an email or a text message, which goes around the world in a second. So of course, stupid me, they're trying to keep the old system the way that it was. The idea of freedom and openness for people, for some people, is of course a problem. Because how do you maintain your billions that you've made from the old system if you allow the new system to come in? This is why I think we're seeing so many rich people buying into the cryptocurrency space, because they see the cracks in the old system. But it's the people sitting in the high chairs, the highest chairs, if you will, who are making sure that everything stays the same. Wouldn't it have made more sense to simply announce that Ether was a security in 2016, 2017? Or even when the SEC before classified it as a commodity? Why now? You know how much money is flowing into this space? You know how many ways we have to not use the US dollar, to opt out of using the US dollar, to escape it, to actually use money how you want? Of course that's a problem. Yeah, and that's 1/20th of what's going on in this space right now. I really think everyone needs to take a chill pill. The news is wild the last couple of days. I'm not sure if it's anxiety about the bull run. I'm not sure if it's life in general. Maybe the spring weather has gotten people flushed with anxiety. I can't figure it out exactly, but a lot of the news right now is completely out of control. So I do think that is going to do it for this video. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. We'll see what ends up happening with Ethereum. I have a feeling we only have like a couple of weeks left until we get like an answer. I don't think the SEC is going to leave it in a gray area because that would still allow it to grow. So as we've heard before, Consensus and a bunch of other companies have already struck back at the SEC. And let's see what ends up happening. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.